Welcome to Comic Books and You. Today we are talking about WildC.A.T.S Crisis Aversion Tactical Squad, Volume 6, Number 1. This is a reboot of WildC.A.T.S by DC, started at the end of 2022. We're 5 volumes into this. It says limited series on the first cover, but it is being advertised as a continual. At least that's what the DC website is showing. Of course, that doesn't mean much, as we've seen DC cancel projects left and right, even though they are supposed to be continuals. But in my opinion, this could easily be running for a few years before being put on hold or having spin-off series taken from it. It features most known faces from the Wildcats group in different ways. But it also combines a variety of Wildstorm characters into a single team or a single entity. We've got Grifter as our POV character. We've got Sister Zealot. We've got Lady Tron. We've got Voodoo. We've got Lord Emp. Of course, it's not the original incarnation of those characters. They are different to certain degrees, fairly varying at this point. But we have got members of Gen 13 showing up. Deathblow has shown up as well. So, a little bit of everything. We've got a few other DC elements and DC superheroes and villains showing up as well. This will even things out in the end, I am sure. We're going to go through our main characters, at least the main characters in this book, and I would say actually in the first few books we have seen. We're going to start with Grifter, also known as Cole Cash, former Special Forces converted into a command bodyguard, gunman for hire. He's your all-around issues resolver, I would say. He is our point of view character. We get a lot of inner monologue from him. No fourth wall breaking, so not a Deadpool clone or a Deadpool like character in that regards. A little bit closer to, I would say, the original character being used as a point of view anti-hero, Rorschach. An interesting character there. He is an outstanding citizen. He always listens to order, respects authority, has perfect control over his angers and his emotion, and he is not seeing his dead brother follow him around everywhere. Definitely, all those things are 100% true. Sister Zealot, well, they refer to her as Zealot once in the first comic, but they generally refer to her by her actual name, Zana. Immortal super soldier woman. I'm not sure if she's actually a Themysciran Amazon in this particular case, because that would sort of make sense in the DC universe. She does mention that Coda exists in Volume 3, in Number 3. Coda, which was the organization of Amazon super soldiers she was part of in the original Wildcats, but it doesn't make sense in the universe we're in. So it's probably something we'll have to see as time goes by. She cares for the other members of her team a whole lot. She is sort of a mother figure for the team, not in the same way as she was in Wildcats, where she was more of a mentor figure for all the characters. Here she is motherly, but not mentorly. Scariest person I've ever met. It's awesome. Grifter has very big respect for her. Our third main character comes from Gen 13 rather than Wildcats, Fairchild, 12-year-old wonderkind. She has the ability to grow into a fully grown adult with super spence, super speed, invulnerability, but not for very long. A few minutes to a few seconds, depending on what's going on. She looks kind of bored while combat is going on. She seems detached quite a bit. Grifter wonders if she's capable of helping out and thinks that she was assigned to the team as a joke. But as we move through the story, she becomes more and more reliable. Other characters that are from either Wildstorm universe or originally Wildcats, we do see Jacob Marlowe, the boss CEO of Halo Industries. I would say he's got a Napoleon complex, but that would be a cheap joke since he is rather short. We have no reference to him as Lord Emp in this particular story, or any reference to any superpowers or supernatural abilities on his part. Deathblow is the team leader. He's a combat android that basically can transfer his mind and knowledge from one body to another, similar to what Spartan was in the original Wildcats. A little bit different from Deathblow in the original Wildstorm universe, but easy to understand in this case. And we do see very shortly in this number the Void and Ladytron. The Void being teleporting cosmic god in a spacesuit. She doesn't have the amazing curves she did in original Wildcats. And Ladytron, she's a cyborg woman. She hangs out with the Void. That's pretty much what we have in this particular volume. She serves as the communications relay for the characters as well. So not the most important character at this point, but important in a Special Forces team. We're going to go through the story. We get a quick intro, one page, where Grifter is trying to fast talk a soldier from Ive, and he basically gives the origin story of Wildcats from the original Image comics. Is this real? Is this a con? We can't really tell. We do know that Demon Knights exist in the DC universe, so maybe he's more right than he thinks. We will see as the story develops. Basically, the Wildcats are raiding Ive base to exfiltrate a geneticist. They take out the guards while Grifter is trying to fast talk them. And they meet with the geneticist, who decides to show his skills that are in high demand by electrocuting and killing Chimp. Grifter doesn't take too kindly to that and summarily execute the scientist. This makes Marlowe rather angry, and he gives a talking down to Deathblow and Zealot as they come back from their mission. And he basically says that he's going to add Fairchild to the team because she's going to help reduce the chances of unfortunate accident. The other members say, well, Grifter won't like this. I think one of the greatest line of all time is spoken in one of these panels as well. Do you have any interests beside killing people? To which the other two have no response. We then get another con from Grifter, who's trying to sweet talk and fast talk another geneticist while in a bar. Unfortunately, as he says his name, a group of thugs and criminals recognize it and get into a fight with him, which he ends with a non-lethal shooting. He gets thrown into jail, and Marlowe bails him out, costing him a fairly substantial amount of money and time. But the good news is Grifter got an ID card from that scientist, which they will be able to exfiltrate to get the scientists that they actually need. And they say that the mission should probably be a cakewalk.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Of course, it doesn't quite go as well as expected. Deathblow gets mortally injured and self-destructs. Grifter and Zealot are pinned down, and Fairchild is the one that bails them out by using her grow-up power. The problem is, when they reach the back door to escape, they are intercepted by Green Arrow. So they have a quick change of plan, and Fairchild busts through the floor, landing them into what appears to be a weird cult situation. We're going to look at some of the covers. There are an innumerable number of alternate covers for this particular volume. I haven't even gotten all of them. I personally own 4 copies, different covers, because I just love the comic. But I know others exist, and we are going to look at a few of them. This is the standard back comic cover, which I really, really like. We see all the characters. We see a bit of action, or a bit of action poses, which is really great. And we've got the nice first sense shattering issue at the bottom. This is the thing I really love This immediately draws attention as that old late 80s, early 90s splash cover look to it, which is a great thing that a lot of modern comics are missing, in my opinion. We've got a cover with Zealot on it. It's not the best picture of her, I would say. Doesn't reflect the costume she's wearing in this series or any of the better costumes she had in the past. And she has longer hair on this particular cover than in the actual book, but fairly eye-catching one. It's a pin-up cover, clearly, and very interesting. We got another pin-up cover, but for Grifter. This is actually the first one I bought. This is the one that drew my attention first. It was on the spinner rack with the number ones, and immediately I was like, "Oh boy, are they rebooting it?" I thought at first that it was being rebooted at Image. Didn't see the DC logo on it until I got home. I wasn't too sure I wanted to buy that many DC comics with how they're acting at the moment, but I'm actually glad I did. It is a Grifter that is closer to the one we see in the comic, but it is still not the current Grifter. We can see the haircut's different rather than this military style buzz cut, but it is a decent cover overall. So those are probably my three favorite straight up covers. The next one is an homage cover, and this one is absolutely awful. The art on Spartan is horrible. The Lord Emp at the bottom right is really bad as well. Voodoo doesn't quite look like she should. Grifter, Zealot, and Ladytron, those three, those three do fit the role here. And it is an homage to the original number one cover by Jim Lee, but it just doesn't work. It's unfortunate because it could have been a very good cover. We've got this one here with super deformed characters. Seems to be a common theme in DC at the moment that they have at least one alternate cover with super deformed. This one looks really cool. I wish I had seen it. I've never seen that comic cover in the wild. I know I can order it off reseller sites, but the price is actually rather high, so it's probably one of the rarer alternate covers. But it is a really cool one. I'd like to have that one personally. And we've got this one here. This is the last one I found on the web. I didn't find it in the wild. It is not really impressive, in my opinion. The characters don't fit what they're supposed to look like. Zealot is clearly not Zealot. Definitely not a comic that would have drawn my a comic cover that would have drawn my attention. Unlike almost all of the others, even the homage cover, if I had seen that, I would probably have bought it. If I had seen it in the wild, this one probably not. It's an art floppy on the premium cover, soft floppy on the regular cover. This is now pretty much standard on DC from what we've seen. Good old American paper comic book. I've been reading a few of them a few times, and one of the premium cover ones, pages is detaching from it because it's stapled and not actually bound. I am really not a huge fan of current quality of American comics in terms of paper quality. The good thing, though, once we're in the book, we actually have color. Color in a DC comic. I know I never thought I would be saying those words. We have bright reds, bright blues, air color that look like air colors, or pure white in the case of Zealot. It actually looks like someone actually took the time to put color to the art that was there. The line work is generally good, but some of the non-action scenes they're not as applied as they could have used. It's a bit simplified, not as bad as some mangas would be, I would say, but not as good as comic books can be, especially if you've read and seen original Wildcat comics. Okay, now time for the long part. Advertisements. It's a DC comic. You know there's going to be a lot of those. From flap ad for CW Stargirl. backflap ad for Pennyworth on HBO Max. I haven't checked actually if Pennyworth was canceled, but it is more than likely not long for this world at this point. Like most of those projects, James Gunn is going to put the axe to them with his current plan. So November 2022 was the last release of it, so it would have been on the month the comic was released. Back cover ad for Black Adam, which was still to be released in a few months when the comic hit the rounds. Another nice DCU movie that absolutely made a ton of money. And then we go inside and we've got tons of other ads. Stargirl Lost Children, 6-issue series. That's the first one we see. Then we've got an ad for Batman Spawn Classic Collection, which would be a good tie-in if you're reaching for the people who read the original Wildcats or were Image comic fans at the time. We've got a 3-page ad for DC 90s Rewind covers, which were available the month after. Most of them are various levels of garbage or don't look 90s at all. Really not a fan of what they did with those. We got a 2-page ad for Dark Crisis, which is the ongoing event for DC at the time. We've got a 1-page ad for Spider-Man, 1 page for Danger Street at the end, but that's more of a explanation of what Danger Street's going to be or was, or so it's an ad, but more of a descriptive one. So 9 page of ad, three covers and flaps. We're at 12 ads in total. They break the reading experience as well in that particular comic. They're not skillfully positioned, I would say. There were a few places where you could have put some of those ads to separate the story efficiently, but they were placed more or less randomly, it seems. So 29% of the book is ads. So not something I truly enjoy, but that's what you have to live with if you're reading modern comics, it seems. The action is really well drawn. The characters are distinctive. You can easily recognize who is who, and they're generally based on the original. They're not rethinking, reimagining of the characters with completely different attributes like we sometimes see nowadays. They're what they should be. The backgrounds are good looking. We've got good lighting elements. We don't have any real supernatural things going on. We don't see any demonites. We don't see any of the weird supernatural creatures. And the Wildcats member we are introduced to are all the more natural ones or the more human ones. We've got a few of the basic DC superheroes that show up and they're well drawn. You've got a design Bible for them, so it's pretty easy. But the inclusion of Green Arrow as a reason why they're having issues is nice. And Nightwing and Batgirl getting into it with Ive after they've basically been cleared out is also a nice touch. Story elements, well, we've got nothing out of the ordinary here. We have the introduction of our 3 main characters, even though Fairchild doesn't get a whole lot of screen time here. But we've got a nice introduction to them, and we don't have an origin story for them. It's not a bad thing. It leads you to go straight into the action rather than having to go through a long, arduous process of learning who the characters are. Grifter is shown as having a moral center, which is something you don't always see with characters in the same ballpark as him. Deadpool, Deadshot, Dead, everything. Does put him a little bit closer to the original archetype, even though he's not as psychotic. Does have some mental issues, but they're more PTSD related, as we see and read. We have banter, camaraderie between the members of the team. No weird sexual tension, no weird, I'm your boss because I'm this or anything like that. They act as special forces members working together. The relationship between Marlowe and Grifter is tense, but Marlowe does seem to be keeping him around because he can get stuff done. And Grifter does show he can get stuff done. So he messed up on the original exfiltration mission. He grabs the ID card from another scientist, to continue the mission, even though he was doing that on his own time. We don't get character introductions, like I said. We're basically thrown into the adventure right away. It felt at the start when you opened the comic that we're going to go through the origin story of Wildcats, like from the original, but then you switch over to Grifter grifting. So it's a nice transition here. We've got a nice chunk of action at the start, fighting actual bad guys, not misunderstood people. I mean, Ive is Ive, and they're never represented as good people except in Teen Titans Go. Then we have the character pieces, Grifter doing his grift, Marlowe getting after the others. It does allow for a growth of the character and an introduction into how the relationships between them works. We see Grifter actually grifting, trying to get things moving forward. It ends with another action scene and a hard cliffhanger, having you being like, okay, well, I want to read the next comic. This is almost perfect pacing on an American comic. In a manga, a little bit different. We'd probably expect a little bit more interpersonal relationship. Or if it was a French comic, well, I'm not even sure how you would do that in Franco-Belgian comics, to be honest. Final thoughts? Well, this is basically what got me back into American comic and want to talk about comics on this platform. Is this a perfect comic? No. Is this the best Wildcats incarnation? Probably not, but was there ever really a good Wildcats incarnation? It's one of those weird comic book series that's been around since forever and that never quite grabbed the level it should have grabbed. Good thing, it's not woke. At least it's not woke enough that I'm freaking out or disliking it. Women were always badass in Wildcats, so it's nothing unusual there. There is an awful lot of feminine energy, yes, but that was always the case in this particular brand of comics. Grifter is a badass in a dumb kind of way. Zealot is still super hot. Fairchild is a ginger. Yeah, ginger in a comic. That's incredible. Marlowe is an asshole. It just works. There's not enough interference from other DC heroes, DC villains to cause an issue with the story either. I haven't seen what is going to happen in the future, obviously, and I don't know if they're going to be starting to do like those 600 crossovers. I hope they don't, and they keep this fairly self contained, and it will make this possibly one of the better Wildcats incarnation. So I hope you guys enjoyed this introduction to Wildcats Volume 6. We're going to keep doing those as the volumes come out. Got to catch up on three others. So that's probably going to be comic discussions for the next weeks. Thank you very much for your patience listening to this. Keep on reading comic, keep on enjoying them. We'll keep analyzing them. Have a very nice day. Bye bye.